We've all been there. You sit there, looping the same part over and over and over again, with no real goal in sight, and absolutely no idea how to actually escape it. And at first, it usually feels great, right? You finally got an idea going. Maybe a cool melody, a nice groove, or some chords you really like. So naturally, you just keep building on top of it. You add another layer, maybe some extra percussion, another synth, maybe some effects because it feels like you're progressing the track. But when you zoom out, nothing is actually moving forward. You're still listening to the exact same 8 bars, just with some more stuff on top of it. And after hearing the same section for the 100th time, you slowly start noticing every little flaw and imperfection, until you eventually start disliking the thing you were excited about an hour ago. Meanwhile, your project folder slowly fills up with unfinished ideas that never really became songs. So in this video, I want to show you some things that genuinely helped me escape the loop and actually turn my ideas into finished tracks. One of the biggest things that helped me was just starting to think more horizontally instead of vertically, because it's very easy when working digitally to just keep stacking layers onto the same section over and over again, because it feels like you're making progress. But a full song isn't really about how many things you can fit into one loop, it's about movement. Something needs to evolve over time for the music to actually feel like it's going somewhere. So for example, here's a loop where I just keep stacking more and more layers onto the same section. And while it sounds bigger, nothing is really changing structurally. Now, compare that to this version, where the same idea actually evolves over time instead. Even though there are technically fewer elements playing at once, the track feels much more alive because the energy keeps moving forward. And different genres solve this differently too. In EDM, that movement often comes from slowly building tension before releasing into a drop. In cinematic music, it could be something much more gradual, where the track starts soft and slowly, and grows bigger and more intense over time. Even in simpler beats, there's usually still some kind of movement and energy that keeps things from feeling static. And I think this is also where structure becomes really useful. Not because you need to strictly follow some formula, but because structure gives you direction. Instead of randomly guessing what should happen next, you already have a rough path to follow. That can be something really simple, like A, B, A, or verse build up and drop. The important thing is just that different sections serve different purposes. For example, here's a really simple A, B, A structure. A, then the B section introduces some new energy and variation. And then the A section returns, but with some extra flair. The track suddenly feels much more complete and intentional, even though the actual ideas themselves are still pretty simple. Something I personally like doing is just laying things out visually before I even properly start arranging. Sometimes I'll literally just write it down on a piece of paper, Or I'll rename patterns inside FL Studio, like intro, build, or drop, and roughly place them on the timeline. Even if it's messy, it immediately makes the track feel less overwhelming, because now you can actually see where things are supposed to go. Another thing that helps a lot when you're stuck is using reference tracks. And I don't mean copying the actual music, I mean borrowing the structure. If you drag a song you like into your DAW and start marking out these sections, you suddenly get a much clearer understanding of how the energy moves over time. Maybe the intro lasts 16 bars, then a build up, then a drop. Then things pull back again before building towards another climax. You're not copying the sound or melodies, you're just studying how the track flows from section to section. A lot of the time, you also don't actually need to create completely new material. If the loop already sounds good, you can usually get surprisingly far just by removing certain elements and reshaping what's already there. This is often called subtractive arrangement. Example? Now, if I remove the drums, it suddenly feels much calmer and more stripped back, almost like a breakdown section. And if I remove the bass as well, now it starts feeling more like an intro. The actual musical idea is still mostly the same. But just by controlling the energy differently, the track suddenly starts feeling much more bigger structurally. This also connects really well to reusing and transforming ideas instead of constantly trying to create new ones. Because in most music, ideas are repeated all the time. They're just presented differently. For example, here's the original melody. Now, here's the exact same melody, moved up an octave with a different sound. And here it is again, with a simplified rhythm and some effects added. The core idea is still the same, but it feels fresh enough to work as a completely different section. And honestly, save your loops too. Even if something doesn't become a full track right now, that doesn't mean the idea is bad. Sometimes you come back months later with fresh ears, hear an old melody or chord progression, and suddenly it becomes the starting point for something much bigger. Another thing that can help a lot is actually just starting with the climax first. A lot of people try to slowly build toward the best part of the track, but honestly, you can just start there. Make the drop first, make the big climax first, then build the rest of the track around it afterwards. And I think this is also where a lot of people accidentally kill their own ideas. Because the moment we move past the loop stage and actually start arranging things out, we suddenly expect every section to sound fully finished immediately. But that's usually not how good tracks are made. A lot of the time, the first version of the arrangement sounds kind of awkward. Some transitions feel rough. Sections might feel empty, and certain ideas still don't fully connect yet. And honestly, that's completely normal. For example, this is what one of my arrangements sounded like before I finished polishing it.
Our words lost in the static, searching for something magic, can't find a path that takes us from here. So I'm not staying. So I'm not staying.
But after adding some automations, transitions, and a few smaller details later on, the exact same arrangement suddenly feels much more finished.
Our words lost in the static, searching for something magic, can't find a path that takes us from here. So I'm not staying. So I'm not staying.
The The arrangement itself didn't really change. I just spent some time adding transitions, automations, and smaller details to help everything connect together. And sometimes the best thing you can honestly do is just take a break. Because after hearing the same loop for 2 hours straight, your ears eventually stop hearing things properly. You start obsessing over tiny imperfections that most people would never even notice. But when you come back later with fresh ears, the track usually sounds completely different again. So yeah, finishing tracks usually isn't about needing more ideas. It's about learning how to move forward with the ideas you already have. Think horizontally, use structure, reuse and shape what you already made, and stop expecting every section to sound perfectly immediately. And with all that combined, go finish that one project you've been avoiding for the last 6 months. Ha det!